Julie made the talismans. Boyd found those talismans in a cave in season 1, just sitting there. He found them, they worked, and the town survived another night. But here's the thing that has never been explained in 4 seasons. Who put them there? Boyd didn't make them. The residents didn't make them. They just existed, in the exact place Boyd needed them to be, with exactly the rules the town needed them to have. That convenience is hard to ignore, and the most popular answer right now is one that sounds completely insane until you actually look at the evidence. Julie put them there. From the future, her story walking has been growing all season. She can revisit moments from the town's past and watch them play out. Season 4 confirms she watched the man in yellow commit a murder during a previous cycle. She's bookmarking moments, getting stronger, and the show has been deliberately leaving open whether story walking can only observe or actually change things. The evidence that locks this in is a single line from season 1, episode 2. A young monster walks up to Julie, her very first encounter with any of the creatures, and says, "Julie, don't you recognize me?" That monster shouldn't know who she is. There is no version of that line that makes sense, unless the creature had already met a future version of Julie before the show even begins. The monster remembers Julie from a conversation that Julie hasn't had yet. If she can go back far enough to interact with monsters, she can go back far enough to leave talismans in a cave. And the craziest part, she might have already done it. The talismans that have kept people alive for 4 seasons might be Julie's work. She's currently living through the timeline that leads her to make them, with no idea she's already on that path. And if that's true, the reason the man in yellow has never just killed Julie is because he needs the cycle to complete properly. Killing her too early breaks the loop. He needs her to go back. He's been waiting for her to do it. Man in yellow is Jade and Tabitha's son. This one is probably the most disturbing theory the show has ever produced, because if it's right, everything about the man in yellow's behavior suddenly makes a horrible kind of sense. Here's what the show set up. Jade and Tabitha are reincarnations of the original couple, the 2 people who, in the very first cycle, were supposed to sacrifice their child along with the other children to seal the dark bargain that created the monsters. Every other parent went through with it. Jade and Tabitha couldn't. They couldn't give up their son, and that single moment of refusing is what broke the cycle and trapped everyone in the loop that's been running ever since. The theory says the son didn't just die, he became the man in yellow. When the man in yellow found Tabitha at the RV, he told her they were so close. His tone wasn't threatening. Fans picked up on it immediately. It sounded personal, like someone talking to people he's known forever. Not a villain taunting a hero. Someone genuinely frustrated. Someone who has been waiting for something and keeps watching it not happen. Season 4 opened with 2 specific paintings. One of a couple with what people describe as Adam and Eve energy, with a shadowy hand above them. Another of a child in yellow being placed in a grave. And then there's what Sophia keeps saying about God and Abraham, that God never actually intended for Abraham to sacrifice his son, that it was always just a test. The show is putting that idea in the mouth of the man in yellow's disguise, the thing that came from a child who was never sacrificed. If he's their son, abandoned by a failed ritual, transformed by the dark energy that sacrifice was supposed to channel, then the whole show changes. He's not keeping them trapped because he's evil. He's keeping them trapped because he's been waiting for them to do what they couldn't do the first time. Watching his parents fail over and over, unable to move on because the thing that would free everyone requires them to give up the one thing they have never been willing to lose. Him. Ethan becomes the man in yellow. The show gave us a kid who wears yellow constantly, has an unexplained connection to the town nobody else has, tells stories about the town's mythology before anyone teaches him, and whose presence in the town was so threatening that the voices told Sarah to kill him in season 1. The voices said kill the boy. Not Boyd, not Jade, not anyone actively investigating. A child. Why would something that has been running this town for decades be scared enough of a kid to have him killed before he even unpacked? Because it's already seen what Ethan becomes. Ethan's storyteller ability, the way he just knows things, the way the mythology comes naturally to him, the way Victor is desperately trying to prepare him for something, is the early form of the power the man in yellow currently has. The man in yellow knows everything about every cycle because he lived through all of them as someone who could see the story from outside it. He didn't start out evil. He started as a kid who understood too much, stayed too long, and watched everyone around him die until understanding everything became the same thing as controlling everything. Victor is treating Ethan like someone who needs to be ready to carry the whole story forward alone. In Miranda's cycle, the one child who survived was Victor. He became the keeper of the town's history for decades. Victor is Tabitha and Jade's son from that cycle. Ethan is their son in this one. If Victor became the keeper from the last massacre, and the cycle keeps going, at what point does the keeper of the story stop being the quiet man who helps and start being the thing in the yellow suit who watches? The man in yellow has been in that town since before Victor was a child, long enough that whatever he started as is completely gone. And if the voices told Sarah to kill Ethan in season 1,
your voices tell you anything about that?
That means whatever the man in yellow currently is, it recognized a future threat young enough to be afraid of it. You don't try to kill a random kid. You try to kill someone you've already seen what they become. Eloise is still alive. Victor took his father to what he believed was Eloise's burial spot after the massacre. He specifically said he only found pieces of her, wasn't even sure they were hers. That's a traumatized child who watched everyone he knew get slaughtered overnight, wandering around trying to collect bodies, identifying remains by guesswork. Victor's memory has already been proven wrong before. He misremembered what happened with Christopher and the boy in white for decades. His trauma doesn't make him a reliable witness to his own sister's death. The detail people keep coming back to is something Victor said casually, not even as a clue, that Eloise was always really good at hide and seek. The theory says that's not a throwaway throwaway line. The town is full of things the show plants early and pays off late. Eloise heard the monsters coming, hid somewhere Christopher never looked, and stayed hidden. Not just that night, for decades. Season 3 introduced the settlements in the woods, places with wooden statues and evidence of previous inhabitants that nobody from the main group built. Someone made those. Someone who knew the forest, knew how to survive outside the talisman system, and never revealed themselves to the other survivors. Victor's father is alive. His mother came back as Tabitha. The show has been methodically returning every piece of Victor's family to him. The only one still missing is Eloise, and the show confirmed Victor was wrong about his memories before. He could easily have buried someone else that morning and called it his sister because he needed it to be over. If you're enjoying the video so far, please like and subscribe. Acosta is Abby reincarnated. Acosta arrived in the town strong, logical, and convinced she could solve this faster than anyone else. A cop, trained, rational, the kind of person who looks at chaos and sees a system she can figure out. She lasted about 3 episodes before the cracks started showing. By mid-season 4, Acosta had hijacked an ambulance and driven it in circles through town screaming, needed Boyd to spike strip her to stop, and had to be given a task, any task, just to keep her from completely falling apart. Boyd watched all of this with something that looked less like concern and more like recognition. Abby Stevens went through the exact same arc. Strong woman, military background, arrived capable, stayed too long, started seeing things, started believing something that wasn't true. Boyd had to kill her to stop her from hurting people he loved. The theory says Acosta isn't just going through a similar breakdown, she is Abby, reincarnated into a new body, brought back to the town, running the same cycle again. The show has already confirmed the town reincarnates people across cycles. It's already confirmed Boyd and Abby's relationship echoes across the show's history. Acosta is even a law enforcement officer, the same protective instinct, the same authority role, the same eventual unraveling. Boyd keeps stepping in before she goes too far. He keeps giving her just enough to hold on, just like he did with Abby, just like he failed to do enough with Abby. He sees it happening again, and he doesn't know if he can stop it twice. The show has confirmed the town brings people back. It brought Tabitha back as Miranda. It brought Jade back as Christopher. It brought Smiley back through Fatima. The town doesn't let things go, and Boyd's greatest failure, the thing that defines everything he's done for 4 seasons, was Abby. The town putting Abby back in front of him, in a new body, going through the same collapse, is exactly the kind of cruelty this place specializes in. Not random horror, targeted horror. The thing that will break you specifically, dressed up just differently enough that you almost don't see it coming. Julie wrote the Cromenockle book. Ethan has been carrying a children's book called Flight of the Cromenockle by K. Dillon since season 1. It's about a boy who gets lost and needs to be saved. Ethan has treated it like a guide this whole time, like the book somehow knows things about their situation. Here's what's strange. The book exists in the real world. It was published outside the town before the Matthews family ever arrived, which means whoever wrote it knew something about the town before they had any reason to. The theory says Julie wrote it. She story walked back through time, not just to the town's past cycles, but to the real world before the Matthews family left on that road trip, and wrote the book herself under a fake name. She couldn't change what happened. The show confirms story walking doesn't let you rewrite events, but she could add something, leave something behind. A book that would end up in Ethan's hands and guide him toward the Lake of Tears. The book is about a lost boy who can only be saved if someone finds him. Ethan has been looking for the Lake of Tears all season on the instructions of Ghost Jim. The book was always pointing him there. If Julie is the one who wrote it, she didn't save her father, but she may have saved her brother. She went back and left him a map she knew he'd pick up, written in the only language a kid would actually follow. A story. Julie can't change the past, but she can leave things in it, and the name, K. Dillon. Nobody has ever explained who K. Dillon is, or how a children's book written by an unknown author ended up in Ethan's hands at exactly the moment it would matter. If Julie wrote it, she picked a name that meant nothing to anyone. Exactly what you'd do if you needed something to exist in the world without drawing attention to how it got there. The book was always part of the plan. The plan was always Julie's. Fatima is becoming the Kimono Woman. The Kimono Woman has been in this town since before anyone can remember. She's not a regular monster. She doesn't follow the same rules. She appears at specific moments. She feels like something between a warning and a threat, rather than something that just wants to kill people. The show has never explained what she is. Look at what's happened to Fatima this season. She gave birth to Smiley in the root cellar, and the connection didn't end there. She can see through his eyes. She can control him. That's a bond running through whatever dark network the town's creatures operate on. Fatima is partially inside that network now. In episode 9, Clara poisoned her with the man in yellow's blood disguised as a family recipe. The veins on her stomach spread further. Her hair is falling out. Her heart rate has dropped to impossible levels. The show isn't hiding where this is going. The theory says Fatima uses her connection to Smiley one final time, gets the group through the cave, holds off the creatures, does the thing only she can do in her current state, and doesn't come back as herself. The transformation completes. And from that point on, there's an entity in the town that isn't quite a monster and isn't quite human, showing up at specific moments, appearing near the right people at the right times. The Kimono Woman has never once hurt anyone who didn't deserve it. Every appearance across 4 seasons has been closer to a warning system than a predator. She shows up when something is about to go wrong. If she's Fatima, she's been doing that since the moment she crossed over. Still there, still trying, just from the inside of something she can never fully come back from. Marielle has foresight. Marielle has already predicted things twice that she had no way of knowing. The fan community noticed it, clipped it, and has been building the case all season. She can feel the pain of everyone who has ever died in the town's town's dungeon. The show frames this as a curse. The dungeon attacks her specifically, chains appear out of nowhere, screaming fills her head. But the theory says the pain isn't random. She's not just feeling echoes. She's receiving information. All three people possessed by the music box, Julie, Randall, and Marielle, came out of it changed. Julie got story walking. Randall hears cicadas that no one else can hear. Marielle has been getting something too, and the show hasn't named it yet. The dungeon targets her specifically. The dead scream specifically at her. Sophia identified her as someone chosen, and while Sophia says that to manipulate people, she also says things that are accidentally true. The theory says Marielle's ability is the counterpart to Julie's. Julie moves through time looking backward. Marielle feels what's coming. She can't control it, and she doesn't fully understand it yet. But the 2 times she said something that turned out to be right, unprompted, with no logical reason to know, the show didn't treat it as coincidence. It treated it as something the other characters missed. If the finale is about Julie going backward and Marielle sensing forward, the show may have been building toward those 2 abilities meeting in the middle this whole time.